That's why she picked this character, this weird guy. You know, he said weird. JD and I are not weird. We got a lot of problems, so we're not weird. He is weird. Right? He's weird. I'm not weird. He's not weird, and I'm not weird. I mean, we're a lot of things. We're not weird.
The former president is right about one thing. His campaign does have a lot of problems, like their favorite gubernatorial candidate not being invited to that rally in the state that he's running for governor in.
There have been rumors that some of your campaign staff have quit. Can you tell us if that's true or not?
Absolutely not, and we are not getting out of this race. There are people who are counting on us to win this race because, again, we don't want a governor who's going to be a person that can't be counted on to tell the truth.
We don't want a governor who can't be counted on to tell the truth. So what was that about campaign staffers not quitting, Mr. Truth Teller?
Your initial reaction to what we're learning right now about all of the top staff leaving Mark Robinson's campaign?
So two things. One, not a huge surprise. And two, not really impactful. And I say that, Jessica, because the Mark Robinson for governor campaign is over.
It's not like there aren't overwhelming reports that Mark Robinson, a.k.a. Mini Soldier, is losing campaign staffers over revelations that explain his obsession with trans people. It's just that the explanation is more about fetishizing rather than the MAGA-approved ostracizing.
It probably was over before the revelations that Andrew put out late last week, but it is now officially over. Josh Stein will be the next governor from North Carolina. The question, and what makes this significant then, is how does this impact Donald Trump and his campaign, and how does it affect those campaigns down ballot as well? And I can tell you, the night that the story came out that Andrew and his team wrote, I got a text message from somebody who's running statewide, and it said, "I think I'm toast." And that's the problem for everybody who's running statewide, and even in some of these, some other races. We have a targeted congressional seat in North Carolina 1, for instance. The Robinson effect there could be big. Donald Trump didn't mention him because he wants no part of Mark Robinson right now. That also is significant. But the idea that Mark Robinson is ever going to be the governor of North Carolina is over.
The unsurprising details of this self-described pervert is becoming common knowledge. But the way his fellow Republicans are bending over backwards to refuse to admit that they promoted him because of his hateful, extreme views is worth paying attention to.
Are you comfortable with Mark Robinson as the Republican nominee for governor in North Carolina?
Well, look, the allegations are pretty far out there, of course, but I know that allegations aren't necessarily reality. And what I'd say is it's ultimately up to Mark Robinson in North Carolina whether he's going to be their governor and whether he wants to stay in the race.
Do you believe him that those were not his posts?
I don't not believe him. I don't believe him. I just think that you have to let these things sometimes play out in the court of public opinion.
JD doesn't not believe him, and he doesn't believe him, which is odd, coming from the guy that didn't need much evidence or proof to believe a community of Haitian migrants was stealing their neighbors' pets and eating them in the front yard. In fact, he still believes it, despite overwhelming evidence that they're not.
If I have to,
But it wasn't just a meme,
create stories so that the American media actually pays attention to the suffering of the American people, then that's what I'm going to do, Dana.
Sorry, you just said that you're creating the story.
What's that, Dana?
You just said that this is a story that you created. So the eating dogs and cats thing is not accurate.
Dana, it comes from firsthand accounts from my constituents. I say that we're creating a story, meaning we're creating the American media focusing on it.
It's looking like a coordinated reversal to the commitment to their family values pitch every time one of them is shown to lack any of the values that they divide the country over. The only thing worse than politicians that force their beliefs on the country is a bunch of politicians that force hateful beliefs on the country that they don't even subscribe to.
When I was watching the Republican National Convention, I heard Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson speak. And Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson, who's your party's nominee for governor in North Carolina, he has been saying anti-Semitic things for years. For years, he said that the movie Black Panther, this is on his own Facebook under his own name, the movie Black Panther, character created by two Jewish comic book writers, was, quote, created to pull the shekels out of your Schwarze pockets by Jews. And then in the last week, we've heard that he actually was, in the past, posting on a porn site, calling himself a black Nazi, praising Mein Kampf, saying that Adolf Hitler would have been better than Barack Obama. That is your party's nominee for governor in North Carolina, who has been anti-Semitic for years. Do you like him? Do you think he should be the next governor of North Carolina?
Look, I've seen these allegations, Jake, and they're concerning allegations. He owes the people of North Carolina...
The Shekels thing was under his name on his Facebook page.
He owes the people of North Carolina more answers about it. But we're talking about the presidential race here that matters to everyone, not just the people in one state. Kamala Harris owes the American people a lot more answers, like, for instance, what she would do about the wars in the Middle East.
Do you think that Trump should still support Mark Robinson in North Carolina?
I'll leave that to President Trump, and most importantly, I'll leave it to the people of North Carolina. That is one state. We're talking about a presidential race that is going to affect every American at a time when a third of Americans can't even afford their groceries.
According to Tom Cotton, Mark Robinson, who advocates against women's voting rights, who mocked murdered children in school, and is a huge anti-Semite, doesn't owe the American people much of an explanation. But VP Harris does. Why did these guys even go on TV after something like this breaks? Does Senator Cotton think that anyone who's watching, who's concerned about all the culture war and Christian character affirming principles that they preach, should leave this thinking he owes North Carolina answers about it? No one ever asks, hey, why should any voter in any district ever believe anything you or your party says about family values when you're unwilling or scared to stand by them when one of your colleagues shows themselves to be faking it? Shouldn't that insult you and your principles?
Former President Donald Trump spoke yesterday in North Carolina, didn't mention him, has not dropped his endorsement. Senator, do you think that former President Trump should drop his endorsement of Mark Robinson?
I think what's going to happen here is that he deserves a chance to defend himself, Mark Robinson. The charges are beyond unnerving. If they're true, he's unfit to serve for office. If they're not true, he has the best lawsuit in the history of the country for libel. He's claiming they were artificially created and that CNN passed it along to be true. Has NBC confirmed this?
Not yet. We're all looking into it.
Well, so what I would do if I were him, I would hire me the best lawyer I could find. I'd sue the hell out of CNN because what they're saying about him is just unbelievable. Now, he needs to do more, in my view. He has a right to defend himself. He has an obligation to defend himself. This is hanging over his campaign. Trump won in 2016 and 2020 when the governor candidate lost both times. I don't think this hurts Trump, but as to Robinson, he's a political zombie if he does not offer a defense to this that's credible.
But Donald Trump can play the middle road by ignoring him while he's throwing rallies in his state, but then refuse to distance himself from Robinson because the first rule of MAGA is never admit that you're wrong, even if you're wrong. He figures that his followers will never care anyway.
I'm very sorry to hear about it. It's sad to hear, but I feel like he's still the better choice over Mr. Stein. Mr. Stein is very much like our current governor. He has not supported the rights of the unborn. That's a big thing to me. I will still be voting for Robinson.
It's easy in lazy politics when you can violate every principle you claim makes your opponent unfit, only to reveal that you violated every one of them and more. Mark Robinson has admitted to utilizing abortion care too.
30 years ago, my wife and I made a very difficult decision. We had an abortion. It was like this silent pain between us that we never spoke of.
It's something that stays with you forever.
He didn't reveal their personal reasons or circumstances behind it, which he shouldn't have to. The offensive part is in how he expects others to reveal their reasons in medical privacy behind their decisions for him and others to review for his version of purity, which just took a hit, by the way, but not enough for diehard MAGA to care about.
Mark Robinson, I don't have much opinion on him. I've heard him. I like some of what he says, but I think he goes a little bit far with what he says.
What about this new stuff that came out about him calling himself a black Nazi on a porn site? Have you learned?
No, I haven't heard that, but that's kind of hilarious.
I still am going to support Mark Robinson. I don't think that there's any proof that he's, did the allegations that have been based against him.
When we say that, we say calling himself a black Nazi inside a porn website and saying that he likes transgender porn, right?
Yes, right. Yeah.
So you're not buying that?
No, I'm not.
If it came out as true, would you still vote for him against Josh Stein?
Yes, I would.
Well, you'd still vote for him even if it was proven true and he came out and admitted it. You'd still vote for him?
Yes, I would, because I don't like Josh Stein, so...
We have to remember, even Donald Trump said some things that we all didn't agree with and didn't like that he done. But hey, he's the front runner for the next president of the United States right now. So I'm more concerned with Mark Robinson's policy than I am with his, kinky sex life or whatever he, done.
How does that affect your vote in that race?
the jury's still out on that. CNN isn't the most reliable source, but I do know that he has some issues.
If it all does turn out to be true, would it be hard for you as a woman of God to vote for him?
It would be hard to vote for Josh Stein. I think he's more liberal than Roy, but I don't know. Again, that's an issue. It is heavy on my heart. It really is.